that they could remember and that they could be less fearful. I think that sometimes that underlying fear is fed on purpose for political reasons. And so that takes the sort of normal apprehension a person might have about a stranger and blows up into something deadly. And I think we just have to keep standing against that in all the ways we can.
Mark?
If I consider all what is going on, really, America is a country that inspires hope and stability. As an African, really everybody would like to come and live in US because it's a country of different opportunities that can help someone to grow. And if now we consider what is going on, it will be really like a shock to most of Africans, especially those who are in the camp. I have friends who are in Auxiliary refugee camp in Namibia, from Somalia and Sudan, who were supposed to come to US, but due to executive order, the trip was cancelled. Really, in the camp now, there is no more assistance from the UNHCR. It is really very difficult. The UNHCR used to provide food for refugees and shelter and everything. Now, there is no more UNHCR in Namibia. They're just having people from South Africa who are coming to Namibia just to assist in terms of resettlement. As a refugee, before to come to US, you have to go through a process. Personally, it took me 2 years until I was interviewed by the US officers of immigration, and then my case was approved. That is how, before last year, I came to US. But if today the US is trying like to turn it back to refugees, really, it won't be good for some families who lost their home. Like me, I fled my country since 2003. I went to Namibia for 10 years. I was living in the camp until I got this chance. Apart from US, where will I go? It will be really difficult.
Okay, thank you, Mark. We'll be taking a short break, but when we return, more from the TVM Town Hall, forming a more perfect union.
This place needs is better graduation rates.
What this place needs is less childhood obesity.
What this place needs is free help with taxes.
What this place needs is healthy breakfasts.
What this place needs is fitness programs for kids.
What this place needs is early readers.
What this place needs is mentors for teens.
What this place needs is people to join us. What this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to TVM's Town Hall, forming a more perfect union on immigrants and refugees. With us tonight, Dr. Adam Shprintzen, an assistant professor of social sciences, Sister Marianne Zimmer, chair of the Religious Studies Department, and Mark Ngongo, a refugee from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and translator for the Refugee Resettlement Program. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to our audience for joining us. We'll be taking our second question of the night. This one comes from Jenny Mong. The question is, she's a Master of Social Work student, sorry. The question is, how do we explain to our children who are taught from a young age that the United States was built by immigrants seeking freedom, opportunity, justice, equality, and safety, that we are now excluding new immigrants who come here seeking those same opportunities? We'll start with Sister Marianne.
Oh, wow, thanks a lot. I think children are bound to notice that we're flawed, and we don't have to tell them that. And so I think they need to know that that they're surrounded by people who are welcoming, who disagree with these policies, who do think that every single person in the world is valuable, and that there are going to be people that they'll meet that don't have those same convictions. And that's just part of life. Not everyone will hold our values, but that doesn't prevent us from holding our values and from kind of holding our chin up and being convinced of the things that make us a family and that our family really stands for.
Okay, we'll go to Mark next.
I think it will be really a big dilemma to explain that to our children, because it's really difficult. But what do I do with my own children? I used to tell them to know where they're coming from and who they are, because someone who accepts the way he is, really, it will be motivated by himself to achieve his dream. Opportunities are there. If you want, you'll get them. If you don't want, you won't. That is how I used to tell my children, just to motivate them. Not all Americans, they are bad people. We are surrounded by good people. No matter what is going on, what you're watching on the TV, they're coming to us, they're encouraging us, because this is somehow political issues. But sometimes I do understand something. If I want really to go from my own experience, Congo is the biggest country in the center of Africa. Congo, since 1959, welcomed our neighbors, Rwandese people, since 1959. And they were included in all our program in the country. And they were getting benefits of as anybody in the country. But today, they're the one taking now guns and killing us in our own country. There is a war in Congo, and 6 million died for nothing, just because a group of people who were welcome in my country, who seek for peace and stability, but years later now, they took guns against Congolese. It's something that we should also learn. It's happened in this world. It might not happen in the US, but somewhere else it happened. If this is the way to defend American interest, I don't blame. Let it be. They are our leaders, they know what they are doing. But the only issue is, as like a visitor in somebody's house, I should not impose my way of living. I should abide by the law. I should respect everybody. I should avoid A, B, C, D to avoid any problem. But really, it's a big dilemma. It's difficult, but we have to be strong to overcome this challenge.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Dr. Shprintzen?
I'll echo something that Mark said, that looking back to the past is one way that we can maybe serve our children a little better as we approach these really important issues. And one thing that we can maybe do with our children, and I think of this as a father of young kids, you know, the big question of how do you handle difficult subjects. And when it comes to America's relationship with immigration, I think we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to the people that we teach to recognize that it's always been a very complex and very difficult and very fought over issue. That as much as we can think about the United States as a place of refuge, and that's absolutely part of that past, think about a few million Irish fleeing the potato famine in the late 1840s. But we're also the country that banned the Chinese from coming to the United States from 1883 all the way up into the 1940s. We're also the country that placed harsh immigration restrictions on Eastern Europeans, Southern Europeans, starting in the 1920s. We're the country that didn't embrace refugees as the horrors of Nazi Germany spread across Europe. Now, this isn't to paint a totally depressing picture, because we are also the country that has offered a place for escape for innumerable people. But one way that we can maybe think about today is to think about the past in the sense that maybe we should be a little bit better than we were in the past, and maybe learn some of the lessons of where a culture of fear has led us in the past, that led us to Japanese internment during World War II. That was fear, and that was fear that spiraled so far out of control that we turned our backs collectively on our most important and cherished values. And if we don't have those values as a country, or those ideas, we don't have a country.
Okay. Next we have Sister Michelle Southwick, Assistant Director of Campus Ministry.
Is the ban that President Trump is trying to propose and sign into executive order, is it constitutional?
We'll let Mark start, or let's have Dr. Shprintzen start. I think you have the most constitutional law.
Simple question. My sense is that it is not. Why? Because I think that ultimately so it's not a coincidence that these 7 countries are all Muslim majority countries, right? The administration has gone out of its way to say that they would welcome in Christian refugees from these locations. At that point, you are really challenging the Establishment Clause in the Constitution that the United States will not establish a religion, what we come to learn as separation of church and state. If ultimately this is targeting one religious group disproportionately, then I think that the Supreme Court will rule it as unconstitutional. Whether that changes because the language of the executive order changes over time, I'm sure that the administration has lawyers working on trying to figure out the way to avoid that specific issue. But what's remarkable to me is the fact that they've kind of played the hands in their deck by saying that this is specifically targeting the Muslim populations who would be trying to get to the United States. It's still to be seen, I think.
Do either of you have anything to add to that?
I think you have it.
I don't have much experience in this because I'm just 2 years in US. I don't yet understand how things work, but on that really I don't have any comment.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take another short break. More of TVM's Town Hall when we come back.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Good evening, I'm Alex Widener. Welcome back to TV-Marywood's Town Hall. Tonight's topic, immigrants and refugees. I'm joined by Dr. Adam Shprintzen, an assistant professor of social sciences, Sister Mary Ann Zimmer, chair of the Religious Studies Department, and Mark Ngongo, a refugee from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and translator for the Refugee Resettlement Program. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to our audience again. Our next question has a bit of an introduction for it. First proposed in 2001, the DREAM Act stands for Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors. In 2012, President Obama announced his administration would no longer deport minors who met criteria under the proposed DREAM Act. Later that year, Immigration Services began implementing the Obama administration's DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Minors program, which helps young illegal immigrants remain in the country and find work. How do you think that President Trump and his administration will handle the DREAM and the DACA acts going forward?
I don't know. That's a great question. Because ultimately you're talking about a group that it's bad PR, right? It's bad public relations to split up families, for one thing, although that is going on. But to target teenagers who had no role in the process of being an undocumented immigrant, a kid who's never been to the country that their parents were from, who's just trying to make their way in an already very difficult world, probably starting to think about applying to colleges, things like that. That seems like really bad PR, and a group that wouldn't get caught up in all of this. On the flip side, we've seen a few examples already of people who are here already under DACA who have been caught up in all of this. As these raids start to happen more and more, targeting undocumented immigrants, there's always the fear and always the possibility that where there are guidelines on who should be or who can be targeted legally, often that gets swept a little bit under the rug once this sort of real fervor gets whipped up. During the Depression, about 1 million Mexicans were deported from the West Coast, from California in particular. About half of those individuals were Mexican Americans, right? Naturally born American citizens, born on American soil. That wasn't the intent, but it spiraled out into that way. And that's not to say that something completely similar could happen today, but I think that it's informative in the sense of how these attempts at trying to raid undocumented immigrants can maybe spiral out of control.
Sister Marianne, how do you think that the administration should handle children who are undocumented?
Oh, I definitely think that they should not be deported, and that they need to be recognized as having no responsibility for being here in the first place, but also that it's just an unthinkable damage to them to be deported to a country where they don't know the language often and have never lived there, and so they have no social network. So I wish that people who are involved in that whole process would think about their sons and daughters at that age and what it would have been like for them to be deported to a foreign country. To me, it seems an unspeakable evil. You know, there's just nothing good about it.
Mark?
I think that it's difficult. It looks to be easy, but the application of those executive order really, it's hard to deport those children who don't know even where they are going. And as they've been said, how will they integrate in the new society where they'll be going, because they don't have any idea. They don't know maybe even the language. How will they live? Really, it will be difficult. Let not these executive orders break families. You know, let not it break families. Otherwise, a lot of children will be lost. They will be lost, and then they will be like abandoned in the streets. And all of us, we know the consequences of streets. Street is very dangerous. It's full of wrong informations and doing. And all those children might turn to being the group of gang and turn against with the state.
Okay.
For me, really, to deport them, I think people should think twice.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take another break. When we return, more of our discussion. Stay tuned.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Alvin and the Chipmunks want to remind you, bacteria can hide in food and make you ill.
Wow.
But you can keep bacteria from ruining your day with 4 simple steps. Clean.
I'm waiting for the rinse cycle.
Separate. Cook.
Fire in the hole!
And chill.
We chipmunks are notoriously tight.
Check your steps. The road trip to food safety starts at foodsafety.gov.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Welcome back to TVM Town Hall, Immigrants and Refugees. I'm your host tonight, Alex Widener. We have 3 members of the Marywood community here with us as panelists: Dr. Adam Shprintzen, Assistant Professor of Social Sciences, Sister Mary Ann Zimmer, Chair of the Religious Studies Department, and Mark Ngongo, a refugee from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and a translator for the Refugee Resettlement Program, and our live studio audience. Thanks for tuning in. Our next question for tonight from Marion Bedeau-Eopst, a junior English major. Marion, let's hear your question.
What exactly is the travel ban executive order, and how does it affect immigrants and refugees who are already here? And the second part of my question is, how will the federal government deal with sanctuary cities?
This is a good one for Dr. Shprintzen.
The details of what is actually in the executive order, right? They say the devil's in the details. So 7 countries that we've banned travel from 7 countries: Sudan, Somalia, Syria, Iraq, Iran. I'm missing 2 here that I should probably remember offhand. Yeah, thank you. Right, so if you're trying to travel from one of those countries, under this executive order, which right now is not actually in place, you cannot make it to the United States. So that's one thing, right? The actual ban on what that means to travel from one of those countries. That obviously has a big impact upon refugee resettlement. And as you saw this rolled out, there was so much chaos at the airports. Again, think about intent and then reality, and may have a real problem with the intent of that inherently. But then the reality is you literally had people making it to their destinations and not being able to enter into the United States, right? So you saw these images of people being held in detention, handcuffed, because literally this executive order went in place while they were in the air. And it's remarkable to think of, right? Images of 5-year-old children handcuffed and held for hours. So the devil's in the details. You also have people who couldn't get back to the United States, right? People who were here legally, who were here on visas. If they were, say, an Iranian national that was in Canada, all of a sudden they couldn't make it back into the United States. You saw instances of academics really being impacted by this, foreign academics who were in the United States teaching at our universities. Even if somebody was to buy into the premise behind this executive order, certainly the idea that you have people not being able to make it into the United States when they've arrived at airports seems cruel, right? Held for hours upon end, literally just because of their national origin. And then the idea that you have people who are part and parcel of American society, work here, contribute to American life in every way, who then can't make it back into our country. I mean, that really pushes towards straight discrimination, right? I mean, it's not because of the quality of the individual, it's literally because of their background. That seems and feels highly problematic.
Okay. Our next question comes from Ligia Delhomme. She couldn't be with us. Immigrants and refugees face unique challenges when they come to the U.S., from language barriers, financial hardships, and isolation. How can we create unions between immigrants, refugees, and current citizens in order to facilitate successful integration into our society? And further, what outreach programs and community resources can we put in place for this union to occur immediately upon entry into our country in order to create a welcoming and supportive environment? We'll start with Mark.
I think that as a refugee, when I came in the US, everything was not easy and simple. But the only advantage is I'm coming from Namibia, which is an English-speaking country, and then at least I learned some English. And most of African countries, they speak British English. And when I reach here with American English, people like singing, it was so difficult and hard for me. I was even fearing to answer my phones because I could not understand anything. But I pity those who are coming from, for instance, French-speaking countries. They don't have any English at all. Really, it's more harder than even myself. They don't know nothing. And then they need assistance in every steps of their life. And personally, I was helping a lot. Bring them to the hospital, bring them to the pharmacy, going to school. Whenever they're having problem with the school, they always give my number. And then I was like a focal person, a spokesperson of the group. They might call me for anything, and then I will translate. But it's not easy. And something to help is just through associations and State Department, helping with English languages, because English is our second language. I speak French, which is my first language. And through English or through vocational trainings, at least it will help people, it will equip people, give them skills that will help them at least to cope with the new situation. Otherwise, I don't see any way out.
Okay. Sister Marianne.
I have some family members who've worked with refugees, and so I know from talking to them that there are so many little things that are unfamiliar. So even doing something like you get a job and you get to the point where you could actually buy an old car, but you have to know about insurance, you have to know about titling the car, you have to know about a driver's license. You know, it's so many steps to everything that seems so obvious to people who are born here. But so there doesn't have to be somebody who's a refugee expert to handle these things. But I think if every family had some friends that were just committed to helping them ongoing through the process, I think it would be a big help.
Dr. Shprintzen?
I'll think of this from a local standpoint. What does it mean in Scranton? This is a city and a region that's based on immigration history and a refugee history in a lot of ways. And that continues over time. I think that's one way that we can actually think about our area is a really proud history of being a place where refugees have been able to come, and hopefully that continues as we move into the future. One thing that historians think about, and especially public historians and oral historians think about, is the power of storytelling. And that's the idea, I think, how you can form that within communities is that as these new communities enter into areas, that as they match up with people who have already been here for a while, the commonalities of their backgrounds, all of a sudden these seeming differences melt away, right? If you tell the story of your family coming from Ireland in the 1850s, or your family escaping natural disasters in Italy in 1890, right? These are common stories, and it doesn't necessarily have to be first-generation individuals. This is part of who we are. I think that's one way to break down some of these barriers that seem like they're there at first glance, and I think that that would be a worthwhile investment at a community level on how maybe we can all work together to understand our motives a little bit better.
Okay.
I'd like to add something.
Sure.
Yes. The other issue also is to inform the community. Is the community aware that in our cities do we have refugees? Sometimes I met with different people, and then when I said that no, I'm a refugee from Congo, people are like surprised. A refugee here in Scranton. Some people, they're not aware. And I think that through media can sensitize the population at least to know that we do have refugees. And then refugees, they do have skills, but maybe language can be a problem. Whenever they are offered really a good platform where they can express themselves, I think they will really contribute and they will succeed. They will succeed. But if the community feels like they don't know about the refugees, they don't know who is the refugees, really it will be difficult. Even the interaction between people, it will be really difficult. Otherwise, refugees, they will be like, isolating themselves because there is not that interaction.
Okay. All right. It's time for a short break, and when we come back, we'll have more questions for our panelists. Stay tuned.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Doing great. We're gonna try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, butt in the seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep pedaling.
Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika, the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw in the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Welcome back to TVM Town Hall. Let's get right back into the questions. Our next is from Nick Murata, a junior digital media major.
Hi everyone, thanks for doing the panel. What can people do in their local communities to help support immigrants and refugees?
Okay, this one kind of goes along with the last one. I think we could expand this one more to what sort of programs can be put in place by communities that are sort of like official programs. So I'll let, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, at a local level, I mean, that's where the most immediate impact is. And as my co-panelists kind of mentioned, there are things that we take for granted as part of everyday life that I think new residents just don't have available at their fingertips. Being a resource, whether it's as a university, and I know that as a university we do serve as a resource to the refugee community, to provide that type of information, but being willing to, it sounds so simplistic, invite somebody into your home, right? Make them dinner. I mean, food is one great place where everybody comes together, usually for good, unless it's a contentious family meal. Be open to new experiences, try new foods, new cultural experiences. They're going on around here. That's the thing, there is a lot going on, I think, related to this topic that people either aren't aware of or maybe feel a bit of anxiety about attending. Take a leap. It's a totally worthwhile way of trying to reach out to people and recognize the importance of their culture, the importance of their background, because certainly you would expect them to react the same way to your experiences and to your background.
Locally, Catholic Social Services does official immigration, or probably not immigration, refugee settlement. So they know what is needed, and I'm sure that they don't have nearly the volunteers that they need. So even to call them up and say, what do you need this month, or is there a family that's struggling that I could be a partner with, or that a group of us could partner with, I think they would be all over that. So I think even that one-on-one, especially if it can go on, it's not just one day, but ongoing attention, I think is really helpful.
Before to come to USA, I went through an orientation whereby I was taught what is USA, what is kind of people, the housing, hospital, education. I was informed. But it happened that as refugees, we are different. People are coming with different expectations. From my experience, before to come, I sit with my children and my brothers. I was like preparing their minds. Where we are going is not a paradise. Whatever we'll find there, thank God. We have our hands, we have our brain. Let us also integrate and build our own life. But other people are coming because they were told that they will give you A, B, C, D. When they reach here, it's now a fight. I was working with Catholic Social Services as case manager. And then you will see, I'll receive a refugee as a case manager. Instead of me helping him, now he's the one telling me what I should do to him. I was told that I will be given a car, I will be given a house, I will be given this and that. I said, no, I'm also a refugee even if I'm your case manager. But they didn't give me a car, they didn't give me an house. I'm renting. I bought my car, work, and then you'll start your life. As I said, we have different expectations. And then it's like, it's a sick person who goes to the doctor. It's not a doctor coming to the sick person. Whatever I need, I should know where to go. And then Catholic is there to give us information on A, B, C, D. Whenever you want this, you can go there. Whenever you want this, you can go there. As I was coming with Sister Margaret, I told her that really I want to go to university. I want to go to college. What can you do to help me? She said, okay, we'll talk. Because I raised my point, what I want to do. But if you are quite in your in your corner there, nobody will know what you want, and it's difficult to be helped. As a case manager, I remember we had students from Shprintzen University, volunteers, who were coming to help refugees with, for instance, food that we've mentioned. It's a new life, a new environment, everything is new. And then we had volunteers who were helping us to cook food as an American. At least not to see food in the supermarket like strange, like it's for somebody else, not for us refugees, but at least we had people who helped. And then for people who cannot to move, we had also volunteers going to their houses to teach them at least a basics of English. That can help them at least. If in a pharmacy, the person can ask. Even if it's to pay the bill, the person can pay the bill. Really, we had a lot of assistance, but it depends on your expectation.
Okay. This question is going to be directed to Dr. Shprintzen. Can you tell us about the collection that the Pacers for Justice and Peace are organizing?
Marianne, do you know a little bit more about this?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to abscond.
We've put boxes in several buildings on campus, and we're collecting things that refugees and immigrants would need. So it's household items, clothing. It's especially difficult to get clothing for men. I don't know if they don't want to give up their clothing and pass them on or what it is, but anyway, that's a special need. So the boxes are in McGowan and Nazareth and I think liberal arts. So put things in the boxes.
Okay. And I guess all of you can weigh in on certain like specifics of things that like they might not have mentioned that should be put in the boxes.
Well, if you think about, so I moved to a new country and I have one small suitcase maybe. I can't bring very much with me. So I'm going to set up a household for my family. So just imagine everything that has to go into that household, and that's needed for every family that comes. So bedding, towels, dishes, soap, all of those things add up when you have to just go out and buy them. So all that's needed.
Okay. After another short break, we'll be back with our last question and our final remarks for the evening.
Oh, we're getting there.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Thanks for tuning back in to TVM's Town Hall, Forming a More Perfect Union. For those just joining us, we have a live studio audience with us tonight, as well as our guest panelists Dr. Adam Shprintzen, Assistant Professor of Social Sciences, Sister Mary Ann Zimmer, Chair of the Religious Studies Department, and Mark Ngongo, a refugee from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and translator for the Refugee Resettlement Program. Our last question for tonight is, how have recent events affected international students here on campus? Anyone can start.
I just know that many students are very nervous because it's so unclear what the executive order covers. So if my parents want to come see me, can they actually get into the country? If I go home on break, or if I'm going to go home for the summer, can I actually get back in and finish my degree? So people are, they're just at a loss. And they'll come to us and say, what do you think I should do? Or how do you understand what this order means? And we don't know. So there's really, I just think it's a big injustice being done to them because their lives have been disordered almost through carelessness, it seems to me. If the thing had been carefully done, maybe there wouldn't be this amount of suffering from it.
Okay. Mark or Dr. Shprintzen?
Yes, I think that there is fear, and there should be fear. You know, even if my country was not mentioned among those seven countries, but still there is a fear. I can't move because I don't know what to be next. The media can say that there are only seven countries that are focused, but we don't know what is going on underground, because sometimes politics says this, and then what is done is something else. Really, there is fear.
I sense something similar: anxiety, fear, lack of clarity. One student who told me not from one of the 7 banned countries, but from a country from that part of the world, that she was planning on going home for the summer for the first time in 2 years, and now she's not sure. Right? Imagine not seeing your parents for a few years. You would want to maybe go back to be able to spend the summer, and my heart goes out to this student because I certainly could not provide any answers because the student wants to make sure that an opportunity for education isn't lost out of all of that. Right? These are people who are, as a society, we often think about the idea of you got to better yourself, and these are people who are doing exactly that. And that shouldn't be a prerequisite, by the way, for caring for people. We should care for everybody. It's funny, as this discussion about refugees has popped up, you constantly hear, by the way, you know that Steve Jobs his father was from Syria, and that's great, right? But for every Steve Jobs, right, how many people are there trying to escape the horrors of the war in Syria who won't ever be Steve Jobs? But they deserve an opportunity to get here as well. So I think that there's a lot of fear amongst our international students. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of trepidation, and frankly, I don't blame them. But what I am happy to know is that the university has gone out of its way to try to allay those fears as much as possible, and that those students should know that there's a community here that supports them, and that is a resource to hopefully try to allay some of those anxieties as they're taking place.
Okay. And one last question for each of you. If you could give advice to the president or anyone in the administration or any representatives on how to deal with these kinds of issues going forward.
Anybody want to volunteer first on that one?
I'll go. I would start with compassion. And I think that compassion is not necessarily held up as a political virtue, but I think humane governance requires compassion. And that doesn't mean just falling apart every time I see somebody suffer, but at least recognizing the human consequences of the things that we decide and implementing them in a way that's humane. Otherwise, we cause unnecessary suffering to other people, but we're also diminishing ourselves. It's like people who can't be compassionate have to have shut down something in themselves. And that's sad for them, and it's sad for the people who suffer the consequences.
Good.
Yeah, you can go.
I have a suggestion that it's somewhat in line with compassion and sort of the idea of humanity. But I think that we need to, our governmental leaders of all stripes need to expand their notion of interests, right? We think of interests as what is the American interest, as if there's one interest. I think we can redefine interest beyond just what it means for us economically, beyond what it means for us socially. An American interest should be to provide a safe haven for people who don't have a lot of opportunity or who are stuck in the middle of a civil war, who are under the worst circumstances possible, and give everything they can in order to try to get to America. To me, that should be held as an image for us all to aspire to have that type of strength and have that type of dedication and drive. So I would like our leaders to think about these people and the remarkable stories that they have beyond just the tragedy, and that's obviously behind all of it, but to think about their remarkable strength to do something that, as a naturally born American citizen, I absolutely take for granted. The wonderful rights that we have protected by our Constitution.
Okay.
I think that what makes America great, it's the diversity of people. You know, that mixture of cultures. And all people around the world who are dreaming to come to America are not coming to spoil America, but they're coming also to build America. For instance, I read on the T-shirt of Robert Einstein, who was a German, a refugee. He was a refugee, but from German. Because of the opportunity he had in America, now just look what he did for the world. Everybody has a contribution. Instead of investing the billions to deport a lot of people, but they can invest that money just to focus to the bad people, for instance. Because the punishment cannot cover everybody. With that money, it can be used to detect people who are doing bad things, for instance, here, than punishing like everybody.
Okay. Do any of you have any final thoughts to add?
I'm just grateful that you're doing this. I think it's a wonderful contribution to the campus and to the larger community. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody here, TV-Marywood, of course, my co-panelists, and I want to thank Mark for sharing parts of his story, because certainly that's an important perspective as we're thinking about all of this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for joining us for tonight's TV-Marywood Town Hall. Thank you, panelists, again, Dr. Shprintzen, Marianne, Mike. Thank you to our studio audience who submitted questions, and thank you to those watching at home. Our next town hall will be on March 30th. For more information or to find out how to participate in the live studio audience, please check TV-Marywood's Facebook page for more information. On behalf of everyone here at TVM, I'm Alex Whitener. Thank you and good night.